Hey, good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Reporting here early morning, 7 a.m. from Detroit. Doing Youmacon, so I always stay usually about any con. I usually stay about 20 minutes outside or something like that. I never really try to stay in the con area, but no matter what, I still get lots of people having fun. So, and that's for an old cranky guy like me, that's not the best thing. Today, let's see, last night came home to the junior hockey team training camp. Man, that pool was crowded when I walked by it. But yes, that kind of sets up this video. Today, yes, is a Friday Thoughts. And by the way, Youmacon is fine, everything loaded in, everything. We're selling usual stuff, nothing really. This show, like many shows, is slowing down a bit, but it's still okay. I mean, not too bad, but we'll see about next year and see what happens. As far as though my Friday thoughts, yes, the cranky old man yelling at the kids, get off my lawn. What I wanted to talk about today in Friday Thoughts was kind of why things suck. Or why is it that things are just not, you know, everyone talks about, when you talk to the old guy, he always talks about how great it was during my time, anime or be it movies. I remember, I remember when I went to a theater. Theater was not just a kind of like go see a movie or what. It was like it was an experience. It really was. I mean, you wind up where I remember when I was a young kid growing up in Brooklyn, and I saw the Warriors. The Warriors was amazing. I thought it was wow. I want to be a warrior. That was kind of the way it was because they were from Coney Island. That was their base, and when I saw it, yeah, I gotta wear my colors. I gotta, and they went to the Bronx, a place that for me was this mystical place I've never seen, and they had to make it all the way down. It was just, to me, one of the most amazing experiences. And the one thing I love to say, which segues, is that they didn't remake it. And I really do hope they never remake it. It's a film that was caught in time at that time that made it possible. Now, if you would tell people, a producer, yeah, I want to make it where a gang goes from, the Bronx to Brooklyn and they have to make it back alive or something like that, they'll all be like, what are you talking, like, why is that such an amazing film? What does that have to do with any, I mean, in today's, with transportation and everything, you'd be like, and gangs, what gangs? Back in my day, gangs were kind of a little bit more of a bigger thing, I guess you would call it. That type of thing. So they never touched that. But now to go to the other part of it, why things suck, and this is kind of happening, I think, a little bit with anime, at least when we were more active in what was just everyone just wants the remake, right? That's the easy answer. I mean, it is show business. So the whole idea right now is that you just need to go with something safe. These films and everything that's being made cost millions and billions and millions and millions of dollars to make. So they need something they believe the IP has to be something safe. And what's happening now, and why I love those channels like Critical Drinker and Mauler and all that kind of stuff, is that they just point out the obvious in a lot of ways. I love listening. Like I was on the drive, I was listening to Mauler's review of I think Ahsoka. Now, I was never a big Star Wars guy. I was more a Star Trek guy. But even for me with Star Trek, after the Deep Space Nine, I thought was very good. But then after they got to Voyager, I didn't really get it anymore. And it wasn't because of being woke. It wasn't because of, we need to make everything about girl power and switch characters to girls and all that kind of stuff. It was just the stories weren't good. I didn't really enjoy them anymore. You could have great stories with women leads, with people of color leads, with all those kind of things. I mean, there's no reason you can't make great stories and make great stuff with that. And, if you want to keep changing characters' gender or characters' race, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, it's more along the lines of just make some great stories. But they don't. And the truth is they also, I think on that particular thing, they have to understand is that Disney bought these things And Disney, their money is from kids. That's what it is. It's from parents being able to buy stuff, being able to look at stuff for kids. Now, was Star Wars ever that? When we were young, when I was young, yeah, I mean, you had the Kenner toys, you had all these toys that kind of like was about Star Wars, but that was kind of what, if you ever read or see, things about George Lucas, he made it so that it was supposed to be for kids. What happened was, and I seen this even for myself. You make a film or you make something and you have this vision and you have this thing that you're trying to make. And then what happens is the vision you made, you think you did it, but then when it gets in front of an audience, it's not that vision anymore. It's really, they take it and they run with it their own way. That's become one of the best things you can do as a filmmaker, is just go see a screening of your film. Just don't even look at your film. Just look at the reactions of the viewers and see what happens to it. And I think for him, for George Lucas, he kind of created something for adults more than for kids, or at least it crossed it. And I think that's why his later stuff that he did on his own seemed to be much more complicated. He tried to still keep some kid stuff, but then it became like all these like details and stuff. I remember people talking about that. Again, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I know from a Disney standpoint, they want to make it for kids. And that's what they want to do. And as far as making it more for women, or being more of the woke agenda or all that kind of thing, I think that's just something they feel is something they're trying to do and will open up the audience. They're always, the thing about Hollywood and again the business is that their feeling is that you, the Star Wars fan, is going to go see it anyway. So why do we need to keep preaching to the choir? It's just a constant thing of preaching to the choir. And then the same thing is this, it's like, if you're preaching to the choir, it's like, we need to expand that. And I'm Disney and I spent a ton of money on this, so I'm going to keep to try to expand it to kids and more of that kind of stuff. So you guys keep belly aching because you're watching them anyway, and then we'll just keep making money. But now what's happened is, is that they're not making very good stuff. They took all these IPs, be it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and those were terrible. They took, the Star Wars, and they just milked that franchise for every possible penny. They're just making more and more and more and more. And it's just, what's happened is, and this goes back to internet, is that you're not making quality, you're making quantity. So you need to slow down. These IPs are very valuable. And I think if they slow down the releases, same thing with the MCU or the MCU, depending on if you talk to Nerdrotic or whatever. Yes, the MCU, yes, more female characters. And again, is that really a terrible thing? No. But at the same time, don't just churn out everything. And don't expect when you take a smaller character, and frankly, for most people, stuff like, even for me, I was a comic book guy when I grew up, but I didn't live and breathe it. So when they did Doctor Strange, or they do, to me, even Ant-Man, I didn't read a lot of Ant-Man. I didn't care about Ant-Man. I cared about, I enjoyed Iron Man, Thor. I liked Fantastic Four. I was more of a DC guy, by the way. I loved Teen Titans, and I also, when it was Perez and all that. So, those were the kind of things I did. But, that doesn't mean that, all these properties are going to have that same value. And if they want to go make a Blue Beetle and appeal more to the Latino audience, again, the word Latino is abused. There's to describe so many countries and so big a diverse a community as simply Latino is kind of like calling Italy, Germany, whatever, European. It really has little value. But back to the thing is that they churned out so much, they turned out a lot of crap. They didn't really get more new viewers. They just alienated old ones, or at least the old ones felt the stuff sucks. That's why I love Mahler. I didn't even watch Ahsoka, but I just listened to his stuff on the way to the thing. It's wonderful. It's just the way he rips it and everything. It's almost like an art form, I'll be honest with you. It really is an art form that I don't know how the guy does it. He's amazing. Then the other thing is that from there, you have to think about, I'm the anime guy. Sorry, folks, camera ran out of space again. I'm gonna need to really do something about that. But being old, man, yelling at the lawn, I'm not really thinking you guys are surprised I screwed that up. But anyway, I was segueing into the anime. Yes, anime is going through the same thing. I mean, it's like now I'm hearing about Bleach and I'm hearing about the Trigun or I'm hearing about this and that. It's just basically the publishers are just like, this is what the fans want, not really. What the fans want is just good content. They want to have good stories, good stuff. And that's why a lot of the old guys always say, well, my stuff was better in the day and all that kind of thing. It wasn't that it was better. I think people make good stuff now. What it was more original. People were forced to make new content, the indies were whatever. And again, this goes back to the internet and stuff because of, right now it's hard to make money on these IPs. You need to go much more safer and continue to go safer. So all these companies are just like, well, what do we do? Well, people want a new Berserk or people want a new whatever. And that's easy to do. And let's just call the creator and, part 2 of this, the origin of this, and that kind of thing. So we're just going to get that. The good news is kind of like Critical Drinker and all these, and for the MCU or CU, is basically that it's all kind of collapsing. These quote unquote, undieable properties, and even in the anime world, all these things that are supposed to be the most amazing are not doing that well. And what's happening is like, it's kind of funny, they're going to One Piece, they're going to one of these that are old anime properties and trying to turn them into something because it's a safer bet. They were already popular in Japan. People talk about cultural differences, but there's not as many as people think at this point. So especially after World War II and America being there, a lot of our values, a lot of our aesthetics got placed over there. So, and they grew up with it. So the thing is now, well, how about, so what's the answer, John? Well, the answer goes back to my last video in a bit, in less content. Produce less content. There's too much being produced right now, too much coming out. The budgets need to be slashed, which they're starting to, and that's the great thing about the marketplace. And produce less, but produce better. What happened, again, in my day, the old man yelling at the thing, is just a show like Magic Knight Ray Earth, a show one, there was just one like that. There wasn't like a half a dozen like that. There weren't like ones coming out every other week. You enjoyed it because it was done with more care and more, focus, and there was just one. That's the way it was. These were all original for its time because there weren't like a ton of shows being made and content after content after content. We need less and better. That's pretty much my lesson for today. To really get for the indie or for the publishers, my advice is less and better. That's what you really need to do. Focus on that. And I think the idea of binge watching and all these things kind of created this marketplace right now that's just unsustainable. And we need that to kind of go into place. And I think things will get better. All right, that's my message. Sorry for the video cutting out. I had a lot more in my head, but that kind of cut it off. But there's a lot more Friday thoughts coming. All right, guys. And yes, it is Saturday. Sorry about that, but yesterday was a crazy setup. All right, you guys have a good weekend. If I think of more, I'll try to do more tomorrow. Maybe do a Yuma recap tomorrow or something like that, because I don't get into Belleville or Jersey until Monday sometime. All right, you guys have a great one. Bye-bye.